Hey fabulous resellers, this is Lainey and I've been selling on eBay since 2007. I've received a lot of questions about how to become a top rated seller on eBay. So there's a few things you need to keep in mind. Number one, you need to have an active eBay store for at least 90 days. Number two, you need to have at least 100 completed transactions, so 100 sales. And they need to equal at least $1,000 in sales in the last 12 months. Now this is the easy part. The harder part is keeping in mind that eBay wants you to treat this like a real business. They want you to be on top of customer service. They want you handling returns. They don't really want to get involved with that stuff. So the next big section that you have to keep in mind is defect rate and whether or not customers have outstanding complaints against you or they're trying to do returns and you're not returning messages. What is a defect rate? If a buyer buys something from you and then you can't ship it to them because maybe you sold it on another platform or maybe it's damaged or you can't find it and you have to cancel the order, that is considered a defect. Your defect rate has to be less than or equal to 0.5% of the sales you make. And you basically have to have 3 or fewer defects or canceled orders to unique buyers. So what does this mean? This means if somebody buys something from you on your eBay store, you have to ship it to them. If you cancel the order because maybe you've lost it or maybe you sold it like on another platform and you forgot to delist it and you can't send it out, that's a defect. eBay wants you to treat this like a real business. They want to have good credibility that when customers buy stuff from their stores, that people will actually receive the items that they've purchased. So the defect rate is really low. So you have to make sure you're actually shipping the items that customers are buying. That's important. eBay wants you to interact with your customers and to resolve problems. They don't want to have to get involved. It's your business. They want you to handle the customer service part of your business and what you sell. When you sell an item on eBay and if a buyer is unhappy with the item they've received, if they say it's INAD, which is item not as described, or if it's damaged and they want to return it, they can open up a case against you and let eBay know, hey, I want to return this item, or there's something wrong with this item. I want to, it's damaged. eBay will automatically side with the buyer if you're not a top-rated seller. If you're a top-rated seller, you get protections in place, which I'll talk about later. If eBay has to step in and handle those cases that are brought against you by buyers, and you don't get involved and you don't resolve them by saying, hey, go ahead and return that item, or I will refund you partially, I'll give you 10% off, whatever you want to do to resolve that case with the buyer. And if that rate goes above like 0.3%, then that will count against your top rated seller score. So what this really means is if you have more than 2 individual customers that are unhappy and opened up a case against you and you did not resolve it with that customer, like let's say you get to the 3rd unhappy customer and you haven't actually tried to work with them and resolve the problem and eBay had to step in, then you will lose your top rated seller status. Okay, let's talk about shipping. It is so important that you ship your item within the time frame that you've set up. I have set up my business so I will ship within 2 business days. So if I sell something on a Monday, I need to make sure it gets to the post office by Wednesday and that the post office has it in their system. You need to make sure that you're shipping at least 95% of your items on time within whatever you've set up that you will ship your items with, and that whatever carrier you're using, that they've actually put the information into the system and it uploads the tracking information to your buyer. If you are doing less than 95% of your items like this, and getting shipped on time, then you will get dinged and you won't be a top rated seller. All of these items together, your shipping, your defect rate, like whether you cancel items, and also your customer service, whether cases have been closed against you, all of that is used to figure out what is your defect rate. And if your defect rate is too high, then you will not be a top rated seller. Being a top rated seller, what are the benefits? I mean, there's 2 huge benefits. The first benefit is they will push your items up to the top of search engine because they know you're taking this business seriously. So having visibility on your items, really important. It helps, you sell your items. The second thing, which I think is actually even more important, is they will protect you against abusive buyer behavior. So what is abusive buyer behavior? Let's say a buyer receives an item and says it wasn't as described and they return it back to you. And then you find out it actually was as described, they just didn't want it. If you let eBay know, 2 things will happen. 1, if you paid for the return shipping, they will reimburse you $6 as a credit for like the shipping. And number 2, eBay gets rid of all the negative or even neutral feedback from that buyer. And that helps your metrics, your selling metrics. If the buyer returns an item to you and it's damaged, and if you have proof like photos, and you let eBay know, they will refund 50% of the amount that you refunded to the buyer back to you, just basically to help you recover like the decreased value of the item. Now that you're going to sell it again, you might not be able to get $20 for it, only able to get $10 for it. So being a top rated seller, super important. They then tend to side with you as the seller, as opposed to always siding with the buyer if you're not a top rated seller. So super important. I'm going to do a separate video on what it means to be a top rated seller plus, because you have to be a top rated seller and then there's a few additional things you have to do. I'll do that in my next video. And my number one tip is just to have really good customer service. This is a business. You are trying to make money and you want to have a good reputation. The other thing is when people are asking you questions in messaging, respond right away or respond within 24 hours, because eBay looks at that and they see that you're taking this seriously. And even on some of the items that I sell, it'll say, oh, seller responds within 24 hours. Like they have like little things that they'll say on your items. It just helps improve the buyer's confidence that you're a legitimate business and that the items they're going to get are the ones that they think they're going to buy based on your pictures and your description. So just customer service is super important. Also, if potential buyers or buyers message you, message them back and be polite, be professional, because you can use those messages between you and the buyer to actually help prove your case down the road if you want to remove like negative feedback or neutral feedback, or say, hey, the agreement was I was going to give back $5 and they were going to keep the item because there was an undisclosed defect. Just assume all this will be used to help back your side of the story, as if somebody in court would read this. Like, you want information in there that will help you. So be polite. And I have to say, saying you're sorry goes a long ways. Like I have said to customers, oh, I'm so sorry. I did not realize there was a stain on the arm. I apologize. You know, I would love to give you $5 back on this item, or I'm happy to take the return and then I will refund you your money. A lot of times, I would say like 80% of the time, the customer, I think, appreciates that you're saying you're sorry, because, you know, they're getting something that they weren't expecting, or there's a damaged item that they weren't expecting when they bought this. And the fact that you're willing to work with them goes a long ways with customer service. And I've even had repeat customers when they received something that was damaged and I've just said, oh, how about if I give you 20%? That helps. So good customer service is so important, especially on eBay. All right, good luck, fabulous reseller.